do we know what they are doing to our children? So she was sexually abused. Hilo jeraha halikushughulikiwa. As she grew up, she got into alcohol. Na eventually ikawa, she's just, anything, anyone, just like that. So addiction can also bring soul wounds, abuse. Na nimezungumzia kuhusu pale physical abuse, like that one of my client. She was physically abused, verbally abused, sexual abuse. Na haya mambo yote yanaleta majeraha kwenye nafsi. Adultery. And sometimes as parents tunafikiri hata watoto hawajui, but they know. Sometimes even they'll see messages in our phones. Hello? Amechukua simu anataka kucheza game, anaona message, haya. Hii imetoka vipi? It is a wound. And later on akikua, you'll realize there was a problem. So adultery. And even the spouse who's there and knows the other spouse is committing adultery, there's also soul wounds. Amen? Chronic illness. Unakuwa na ugonjwa ambao umechukua muda mrefu. Labda ugonjwa wako wewe mwenyewe binafsi ama wa mtu mwingine. Umekuwa ukiuguza mtu ambaye amekuwa na chronic illness. Death and loss can cause wounds, soul wounds. Frequent moves. Mnaishi mahali miezi miwili mmehama. Even house girls. Hello? House girl anakuja siku moja, siku ya pili kuna house girl mwingine. It causes wounds. Because this child, all of a sudden anashtuka, haya, what changed? Nobody told them. Then after 1 month, there's another change. So those frequent moves also cause injury to the soul. Differences ndani ya family. Uko katika family ambao ni akina nani? Akina najaribu kutafuta jina lolote. Akina Kosgei. Tunajua kwamba the athletic they, isn't it? Kila mtu kwa family ni athlete. Alafu panatokea ule ambaye hana haja na athletics. Huyu ni artist. Alafu anatengwa na familia. This is what we do. Ama tuko family ya doctors. We are just doctors or lawyers or engineers. And then panatokea mmoja ambaye anakuwa tofauti. Unapata kwamba anapata matatizo. Sisi walimu, educators, you have a child who has learning issues. That one I know firsthand. It's very difficult. Kwa sababu unashindwa, I'm teaching people at school, they are getting it. Mbona wewe hupati? And we forget that now this is your child, you are no longer a teacher. When you are in the home, you are the parent. We are a teacher at school. Na unapata tuna force this child. No, you must learn. Everybody else has gone to Alliance High School. You have not gone there. It causes soul wounds. Divorce. And sahi tunaambiwa kwamba divorce rate is going high. Divorce. These parents, wanaamua now they want to divorce. The children don't know what is going on. Hawako involved. They don't know what's happening. Hata tumesikia kwa social media and even on our normal media. Mzazi mmoja ametoroka na mtoto. I think there was such an incident. Alafu akajichoma ndani ya gari na mtoto. Those are soul wounds. Sometimes tunaweza angalia tuseme kwani huyo mtu wako anafikira, lakini hatujui nafsi yake ina majeraha gani. Kuna zile ambazo tunaita complex trauma. Kuna exposure to traumatic events such as abuse, like in the home. Unapata kwamba mtoto ameona mnapigana throughout. There is that abuse or neglect. Mtoto anafungiwa kwa nyumba peke yake. Parents can go even for 2 days ndo warudi. That is neglect. Unapata huyu mtoto anakuwa na trauma. And we call it complex kwa sababu kumtibu yule mtoto si rahisi. Simple trauma. Hii ni kwamba umekutana na kitu, an experience that was life threatening. Like last time, I think I had a student ambaye walikuwa namfukuza for disciplinary issues. But when it was brought to me, I discovered it was not even disciplinary. This child had been involved in a bad road accident. Na walitoka tu hapo sijui wawili peke yao. Even the father showed me the picture of the matatu. This is a child who has trauma. Alikuwa in an accident, aliona watu wakakufa na akasurvive. And sometimes we just take it for granted that alikuwa tu hapo, ata move on. It is never sometimes like that. So, akwe maybe in a life-threatening accident, ama a fire. In Kenya hatuja kuwa na earthquakes, but in other countries kuna earthquakes. Right now in Israel, I think they're each other. Those are things that can cause trauma. Alafu another thing, hapa, post-election violence. Hello? Si tunaona hata goja sahi tuko tu sawa. When is the next election? 20? Tutaanza kuona watu wanahama. Ni nini inawafukuza and they have not seen anything? Trauma. We are so traumatized that tunapata two images of bad things happening. So we start moving. Nobody has sent you away. Nobody has said there will be anything. So it causes trauma. Alafu kuna trauma nyingine ambayo tunaita post-traumatic stress disorder. And this one, ni mtu amepata trauma na haikushugulikiwa. In fact, we say after 9 months, you can develop post-traumatic stress disorder. I had also another client. Alienda kwa mwalimu wake very early, akamwambia, I'm having problems because of what I witnessed over the holidays. Akamwambia, what is it? Akasema, I witnessed a gang rape. I'm so talking about very difficult things, but these are things I've been hearing in my counseling room. So, Ali witnessed a gang rape, and then he's the one who carried the girl. The girl is a friend, not a girlfriend, but they talk, something like that. And then, he's the one who carried this girl, took her to the nearest dispensary, akaambia the parents. The parents blamed him. Wakasema he was the one who was responsible. In fact, he's lying. He tried to tell them, no. Tulikuwa tunatembea and a gang came and they raped her as I was seeing. So nobody bothered. Akaenda kwa mwalimu akamwambia, mwalimu, I'm having difficulty kufikiria haya mambo. Mwalimu pia akaassume. By the time ilikuwa inanikujua, it was 9 months. In fact, tulikuwa tuna one session and I just took the phone call and called the parent. Akamwambia, mzazi, sasa ni lazima tushirikiane. Huyu mtoto kupona, it is not now. It will take long. He needs medication. He needs a trauma counselor. And he did. Tulienda for 6 months. In fact, he used to come to our office to pick his medication. Yeah? And eventually, akakuwa vizuri. Akaacha kutumia medication. So let us not just assume. How will you know mtu yuko na post-traumatic stress disorder? Vile ana react. Heart palpitations, moyo kupiga sana. Anakuwa na nightmares. Sleep disturbance. And also for parents or nightmares, check what is your child. Akiwa anakuambia something, listen. Let's trauma and you don't know. And it's coming through nightmares. Sleep like this child will stay without sleeping. And he does not miss sleep. Haski kulala. Sleep disturbance. Anxiety, wasiwasi. Depression. Feel too overwhelmed. Angry outbursts. And aggressiveness. So in such cases, counseling itasaidia. And even medication. Kwa mfano kama nimesema my friend who has bipolar, she's on medication. This child who had PTSD, he was also on medication. There was also another one. Last time I had 2 who were on medication and another one was even admitted. Let us not just assume that huyu ni mtoto amepata depression ana mawazo gani. Because that's what now the challenge comes as a counselor. You're trying to tell the parent, anasema huyu anawezaje kuwa na mawazo, ananunua nini? But depression si lazima itokane na mawazo. So, These wounds can be helped by counselors, medications by psychiatrists. It can help. But why are we listening to this? Because there is a certain level where even with the counseling, even with the psychiatrists, they are not able to heal these wounds. And that is where we come into spiritual healing. God can redeem the pain of our lives to make us more like Jesus. And that one tunaipata katika James 1:2. James 1:2. So it is important to believe that God can redeem the pain in our life. In the healing process, we will need to forgive the person who has wounded us. But even after forgiving, the wound itself still needs to heal. Sijui kama mmenielewa hapo. Utaambiwa kwamba umsamehe yule ambaye amekukosea, lakini hata baada ya kumsamehe ni lazima lile jeraha lifanye nini? Lipate tiba. What do you need to do? Process your past. And that is why ukienda kwa mfano kwa counselor, atakuuliza, tell me your story. How was your childhood? Kwa sababu anataka urudi hapo, uanze kueleza kuhusu yale mambo yaliyopita, kwa sababu yanaathiri vile ulivyo sasa. Process your past. You have to process the events in the past that have led to your brokenness. You can also process it with others, like talking to family members, but don't be afraid to process your past. Don't be afraid to process your past. So, how do we access Jesus' healing power in our soul? Umenda counseling, nini. That's how we want to see. How do we access Jesus' healing power in our soul? Kitu cha kwanza, no. God isn't trying to fix us. God hataki kututengeneza, kutuweka pamoja. God is not trying to fix us. What he wants is a relationship with us. Lakini tatizo letu mara nyingi ni kwamba sisi tunamtafuta Mungu tu enough. Once tumesikia vizuri, tunaachana na kuwa na relationship na Mungu. So God is looking for a relationship with us. Understand that God knows what we don't know. He likes to tell us. Kuna mambo ambayo you don't know what happened in the past. You don't know what your ancestors did, but God can tell you. He knows what needs to be healed and how to heal it. He knows what needs to be healed and how to heal it. Number 3, tell your story. Tell your story. Tell someone your story. Matatizo ambayo mengi tunapata kwamba maybe even committed suicide. It's because they don't want to tell their story. Tell your story to someone. Of course, the person must also be mature. Someone who ukimwambia tafadhali na kuambia lakini usiambie na kweli asiambie mtu. To put it in confidence. Ikiwa hakuna mtu karibu, then go and see a counselor. But tell your story. Number 4, only God heals the soul. As much as utatumia medication, as much as you'll come to me as a professional counselor, at the end of the day we must be humble. That it is God who can heal the soul. And even as a church, we are in the soul winning business. Sio kwamba tuko hapa mwili. Our main purpose is your soul. That is what is very important to God. That soul. Apart from me, you can do nothing. That is John 15:5. So, God is the one who heals us, who heals the soul. Now, ukiwa na jeraha, alafu liwe an open wound, what will you see? Good students. What will happen around the wound? What will you see? What will you see? Blood. Okay, yes, there'll be blood. What else will you see? Yes? There's some pain. Good. What else will you see? There's something I'm looking for. Yes? Thank you very much. Clap for him. You will see flies. Now the soul also has flies. And those flies are demons. Are we together? And those flies are what? Demons. Many a times we don't talk about it. But even as I process even some of the stories that I'll tell you, you realize it's not just about counseling. There's something beyond. For someone who is a Christian, ule mtu ambaye ameokoka, we cannot say you're demon possessed. And hata utenda mahali, people will pray, then nothing will come out. Because possession means the demons own you. But you have been bought by a price. So they don't own you. But they can influence certain areas in your life. Hayo majeraha huwa yanachezea tu hapo tu. And I will explain how. So a demon, an evil spirit, or an unclean spirit is a fallen angel. And their number one purpose is they come to kill, steal, and destroy. That is their own purpose. And many a times, mtu anakuja church, they go. But they don't know that there are certain areas in their lives, because of past wounds, majeraha ya kitambo, kuna kitu tu huwa inazungukia hapo. And I'll tell you how you can know. So, for a Christian, we don't say they are demon possessed. They are demonized. That means a demon has an influence in a certain area in their life. The primary way in which a person can get demonized is because of sin. And we know that. That is the first thing. Sin is what brings these things to us. For example, promiscuity. Ikiwa mtu atakuwa promiscuous, kuna sexually transmitted infections, but there's also spiritual infections. And that's why utaona mtu, she's working, she has a job, but she'll be at Koinange at night. She doesn't need the money. What is it that is taking her there? What is it that is taking her there? There's an area that has influence. For example, your example of that client who was sexually abused. She went through trauma, and then now she does not even care. She can move with anybody even if she does not know their name. How can you explain that? So there's spiritually transmitted infection. Demons can be transferred through sexual intercourse. Sometimes demons can enter through abuse. The devil is not fair. Hata kale katoto kadogo kamekuwa defiled, that child will be demonized. Hello? This child did not accept. They don't even know what is going on. They are just victims. But he's not fair. He's not fair. So through abuse, verbal abuse, those words you're telling your child, heavy words. The physical abuse, you're beating, you're burning. That is the process in which they also enter. Many times, people who commit acts of violence and abuse have demonic spirits. Most of the time, sisemi ni kila wakati, sometimes it can be just mental illness, kama vile nimeeleza, but many times, it is because of demonic spirits. Sadly, their victims end up with demons too, I have said. Some demonic issues are passed from generation to generation. Inaweza kuwa you look at your own life, na huoni anything, but you do not understand why am I not progressing. Kumbe kule generations you don't know what happened. So inaweza kakuwa ni and it can also be shared. So you find a family, they have some similar characteristics. Maybe watu wakifika a certain age, they just die. Somehow they'll just die. or kuna something they have done, they have studied, they have done everything. They have worked hard in school, but there's no progress. You can't know what happened. They cannot explain themselves because si kitu wao wamefanya. But it is something that is generational. Hello? Are we together mpaka hapo? Thank you. So what are the symptoms? What is it that you will see? Uone sasa hii si issue ya counseling ama ya psychiatrist, sasa hii ni issue ya spiritual healing. Some people hear voices. I have a friend also, another friend who has bipolar, and she was telling me, unajua wanasikia. So, and even when you talk to her, there's a time unaona she's going away. And then are you listening? I say, you know, there are some voices I'm hearing. I've also had another student who came and said, I'm just being told things. Or anasikia sound. Okay? Sometimes mental issues zinaweza leta hiyo, but there's something that is beyond just mental issues. So some people hear voices. Be clear. Be clear, since some of the voices are rooted in psychological issues. That's what I've said. Sometimes inakuwa tu psychological issues, wakipewa dawa, the voices stop. But when these voices are distinct, nani sauti ambazo za kukufuru. Kukufuru means blasphemy. Saying bad words against God. That one, take note, is not just a psychological issue. Or destructive. Ni sauti but destructive. Number 2, having thoughts in your mind that are not your own. Unajua una fikra zako, lakini kuna fikra inaweza ingia na uone hii si yangu. Hii haijatoka kwangu. The thoughts are dark. They are blasphemous. They are hurtful. They are condemning or suicidal. Tuko pamoja mpaka hapo? Haya, 3, experiences of rage. Rage. This is supernaturally empowered anger. Like kama hiyo nimewaambia of my student who will be so angry mpaka facial expression inakuwa tofauti, unashindwa huyu ni yule ama ni mwingine. Veins zinatoka, you know? Mpaka unasema this anger is not just normal anger. So, this is supernaturally empowered anger. And it is a generational spirit that is recognized by a name. Number 4, they feel spiritual and psychological torment. Sometimes it may involve physical pain. Mtu anapata ameumizwa lakini hajui ni nini kimemuumiza. Ama amegwarwa tu. So there's physical pain, but they can't understand where is this pain coming from. Number 5, in some cases, people can be sexually assaulted by a demon. And I was teaching in Nairobi West about dreams, and I told them about this incubus and succubus. You can even go and Google. See kitu you should just listen and you don't go and research. Incubus and succubus spirits. Wanakuja kama ndoto, you don't see the face of this person, but you experience a sexual experience. Sometimes they can look like your wife, like your husband, but they are not. Sometimes they can even look like a relative. And it happens in dreams. Struggling with blasphemous thoughts. You are a Christian and you are praying, but kuna fikra za kukufuru zinaingia ndani ya akili yako. They know this is not just about counseling. Condemning thoughts. Unapata accusations, belittling, judging, shaming, telling them they are worthless. Unasikia tu ndani ati, we are worthless. Like that girl I was telling you, she's bipolar. She hears those sounds.